Hello, everyone. I am Jim Bruner, as Jake and Siddharth have mentioned, and I live in the United States in a city called Columbus, Ohio, which is basically in the center of the continental US. And I have a very interesting position here because I am a futurist and I work as the Sultan of Systems during the day at the Past Foundation, but I live on a farm in the middle of downtown Columbus called Mezzacello. And one of the things I'm fascinated by is how we can live a life that aligns easily to all 17 of the 2030 UN Sustainable Development Goals. And so I got it in my head about a month ago when I gave a lecture at the zoo in my city on how easy it is to reframe the way we live in the world as individuals to those goals. It isn't always about changing the world. Sometimes it's about changing who we are and what we do. So I started working on a project that was writing a blog post every week about all 17 of these sustainable development goals and how I achieved them personally and what you as people around the world and kids can do in the same way. So I've developed a presentation around that, and I would like to try to present. So if you'd let me share my screen, I'll open this up and go back to Zoom and share screen. And there it is. Siddharth, can you see that? Excellent. All right. Oh, let's not start with the end. Start with the beginning. Okay. So this is the name of the presentation I want to give. And I definitely want feedback because this is the world, not just me. This is my vision on how I can do this. I'm curious how the rest of the world thinks they would do this. So this is the presentation. This is my avatar that one of my friends designed for me, and I really think it's cute. So I'm just leveraging it. On the left, Siddharth, go ahead.
We can see all of the slides right now and the place where there are speaker notes. And I think you might have shared the wrong screen.
Then let me stop sharing. Thank you. Appreciate that. And let's try this again.
On the other hand, having a preview is no tragedy.
All right, Siddharth, can you see the whole screen now?
Now we do.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
My friend, thank you for saying something. I would have gone on and not known any better. Okay, so this is my presentation. I'll just keep going. I guess I'll click here. So this is everything I just told you about Mezzacello. You will have access to this PowerPoint, and I believe all of you have the ability, or hopefully all of you have the ability to read. I am, in fact, here at Mezzacello, the alpha animal. And why that's important is because I'm the apex animal, and I have animals on this farm that I integrate into all these UN development goals. So here they are, all 17 of them. If you're not familiar with them, you can look here, you can go on my website and see them, or you can just look them up on Google. They're very prominent right now. So this is how I think of them, not so much as a periodic table of elements, but a cycle, because they're all related to each other. And all of us, like I am right now, are in the middle of this. So note where I am. It's important to put yourself in the center. And this is the only sustainable way to live. If you are not trying to provide something for everything, and if you're only thinking about yourself, that's not sustainable. You're going to need other people, other resources, other tools, and you're going to have to give to other people, other resources, other tools. In my opinion, these two circles are the same. We live on a planet. It's got discrete resources. We live in a circle. It also has discrete resources we need to share. So how do I adapt my life Like I told you, I do live in a major US city, but on a farm. It has gardens, it has animals. I live in a community that is emerging. There are people who definitely need help, and there are people who definitely do not need help. That is the default state of the world right now. Our job as UN ambassadors for sustainability is to recognize we have something to give to all of them and something to get from all of them. The second step is reframing the world to my world. As a kid, that is really important for you to do. As an adult, that is critical for you to do. The third piece is sustainability as a pattern. It's always going to be the same. Am I giving more than I get? Then that's sustainable. Am I getting more than I give? That is unsustainable. It's that simple. Boom. Okay, so levels of access. Basically, there are three. The individual, which is you. The community, which is you and your family, your friends, your school, your town, your neighborhood. And then third, the orange one, is national or global issues. Now, you may say, I don't have any control over that, but I say you do. And it steps, starting with one step and moving to the next step and to the next step. And I will give you examples of that. A caveat. If you're not familiar with the UN SDGs, the bigger the numbers get, the harder it gets to sustain. Do not panic. This person has already started this process and she's killing it. You don't have to be Greta, just think like Greta. So, individual goals. These are the 6 individual goals that I can affect change immediately, and I have done. And just so you know, in this hyperlink and on my website where this will be a post, you can see every blog that I have written. Jake, can you see that? The website?
We see your slides. No, when you clicked on it, it didn't come up.
All right, don't worry about it. They're all there. I'm not worried about it. So I'll go ahead and get here and try to close that down. I was hoping that was going to work. It does not.
But here's the point. Here's the point. Jim's going to send this to Gift, and we will have it.
Yes.
And if anybody wants it, we will be glad to send it to you.
Correct. Absolutely correct. So let me go back to Zoom here. Lost my place. So sorry about that. Shoot, I shouldn't have done that, Jake. Okay. So these 6, ending poverty, that's not a child's job. That should never be a child's job. But it can be a child's ambition. And it's definitely my ambition. And I do that through acts of goodness, acts of generosity. I do it through donations. I do it through work, and I do it through sharing my wealth, however I can, whatever that is, including what I'm doing right now. Zero hunger, I got that one covered in spades. I grow lots of food and I share it to food banks. I share it with my neighbors. I share it with anyone who needs it. And I store food and save food so I can share it later. It isn't all about what I can do right now. Good health and wellness, all of that comes back to the way I live my life here at Mezzacello. Because I have health conditions, which I've talked about here before, that mandate, or that's a big word for saying require, that I grow fresh food. Quality education, I'm all about that. That's why I fervently support Gift. I think it's one of the best things in the world right now because it gives children ambition, like Arushi before me, to change the world through their passion and action and intelligence and connections. She's a prime example of the power of Gift, in my opinion. Gender equality, Arushi is right up there at the top. But for me, it's also about treating every human as a human. You have a question, Siddharth? Okay. Every human is valuable. I don't care who they are, what gender they are, what age they are. They have value. I believe in the power of every human regardless, until they show me without doubt that I cannot trust them, I do. I have no choice. That's life. Clean water and sanitation. I purify every amount of water I possibly can. One of the states in the United States that I am born from, called California, is currently dealing with a horrific crisis of too much water too fast. And they don't know what to do. They're overwhelmed. We need to plan for that. That is the future. So I'll go to the next slide. And also, because this is global, I want to talk about Pakistan for a moment. Pakistan, at the base of the Himalaya, is also experiencing this. Water is a threat and a gift. We need to be reasonable about this. And really, as kids and adults, we need to start thinking about how do we treat water as a valuable resource. We need to start right now. Community. The way that we deal with this in community is affordable and clean energy. It is currently -7 degrees Celsius in the city where I live. It's very cold. Every one of my animals and all of my water are completely safe because I have solar panels and wind turbines that go to batteries, and those batteries power systems that keep water above 0 degrees Celsius. So all the animals have access to water. All of my hydroponic systems have access to water. All of my heaters have access to energy. And I did that step by step by step. If you are homeless or you don't have a home, in my alley, I have outlets where you can plug things in and heat yourself. You can plug in a phone. You can plug in a blanket. It isn't just about me and my animals. It's about thinking about the world that is bigger. And every time I retire batteries, I put them into locked cabinets out there with an inverter, which just inverts direct current to alternating current. And if you need power, it is there. The only thing I ask is that you do something nice for someone else. That is energy. Energy just isn't power. It's also kindness. It's generosity. It's grace. Decent work in economics. I have to pay for all of this. The energy I produce helps pay for that, but other people help me as well. So like Arushi, I meet people and I develop relationships that will help me. I say, this is what I want to do. I want to grow. I want to maintain. I want to maintain or sustain, and I want to explain. How can you help me? And in return, I will help you. That is sustainable. I do not ask for handouts. I ask for help, and then I help in return. Innovation and infrastructure, well, I just described all of that. I built all of that, and I'm building all of that because we need ways to give things to other people that return things back to us so we can give more. So I know every kid that's coming on here today, every adult that is hosting, myself included, is doing something to help that, to make that more accessible. My batteries and my plugins are just one step. There are 100 others. And then lastly, reducing inequality. Inequality is unacceptable. A very wise philosopher once said, the problem with equality is that people only want to be equal with their superiors. That is the absolute opposite of sustainability. We need to acknowledge we need equality and we have to work for it. And you have to accept that you are no better than anyone else. The moment you believe that your value is more than some other person in need is the value you or the time you become irrelevant. Children need adults. That does not make them less than us. It makes them valuable. There are adults that need us as well. We need to remember we are one person amongst 7+ billion. We need to know that and not be afraid of that truth. The national goals that I also hit are sustainable cities. I love the city I live in. A great story about the city I live in is it's on a river that runs down from a high elevation to a very low elevation. And that low elevation is the Ohio River, and the lower elevation is the Mississippi River, on my continent, and the lowest elevation is New Orleans and the Gulf of Mexico and out into the Atlantic and Caribbean oceans. So our river runs really fast and it floods every 20 years. So for the whole of the 20th century, our city was terrified of our river and treated it like trash. Literally, they built walls so high that you couldn't even see above them if you were on the river to stop the river from destroying our cities. But what it did was it created a ridiculous canyon, and nobody even knew. There were kids in our city that didn't even know there was a river that flowed through our city. Can you even imagine that, Siddharth? They didn't even know. And in 1999, our mayor said, enough of this. What does nature do? And he went out and they did lots of research. They destroyed those walls. They widened that corridor and they built parks and pathways. And today, it's one of the most beautiful city fronts in the city. And when it floods, that park floods. And what does that grass do? Absorbs that water and channels it downstream. The city doesn't flood anymore. And now people love our river. They know our river. When you love something, you're willing to do things for it. When you're afraid of it, you don't want to do anything. It's about love. It's about dignity and love, grace and respect. When you love something, you will do more for it than if you don't. We need to learn to love things that we're afraid of. That's sustainable cities. Responsible consumption, stop. Stop. Don't be afraid of having old things. Don't be afraid of reusing things. Understand there's no other way. The more crap we buy, the more waste we make, the more we treat our river like a dangerous thing, the worse our lives are going to be. Learn to love things and reuse them. It is not a vulnerability. It is not a sin. It is what nature and the children in our planet require. They don't need more consumption. They need us to be more creative. Moving on, I'm almost done here. These are the big wicked problems, right? Climate reality, I've addressed that. The oceans, animals across our planet, governments, partnerships for peace. Those are big things, and I haven't even written those blogs yet. Those are so big, I didn't even know how to relate it to kids. But the fact of the matter is, kids on the planet today are going to inherit them. We need to be prepared with good answers. And all of this is on my website. I couldn't show it to you here. That's fine. It's all waiting for you at mezzacello.org, and it's embedded in this presentation. Go there if you'd like. Otherwise, do the things I've asked you to do on faith. Well, it's easy. Be dreamers. Write stories about this. What would you do to change the world? What do you think is wrong with the world? Write. Talk about this. Don't just wait for someone to change the world. Be Greta. Start right now. Convince your family, your community, your school, everyone that there are solutions that you can use. Do some research. Learn to see yourself in the middle of these and see the patterns and how it really is a circle. Learn to see patterns. Learn about what sustainability is. Understand that concept. Nature is sustainable by design because she knows one thing cannot be more valuable than another. Everything needs to have the same value. If something is prey and there's a predator, that predator is giving something back. Boom. Join a club if you can. Ask yourself, can I do that? And no, only you can. I was a kid. I know how vulnerable and scared it is to be a kid because you don't have any power. But that's where I started with Mezzacello as well. Zero power, no knowledge, and here I am. Keep asking questions. And this is how I go about doing it. The design cycle. I think about a problem, I research it, I create a solution, I build a model, I look at it, is it wrong? If it is, I modify it, and then I share it again and again and again, and I never stop. So I'm in good time. Do you have any questions? And is there anything I can elaborate on?
Well, your presentation was amazing. That's all. My question is, how can you make it more amazing? It's just
More,
amazing how
please, sir.
you. Yeah, I have a comment. How can you, well, not how can you, I really like how you post blogs and actually make a change and do as much as you can in what you can do. You treat everybody equally and you do so many things that my mind is dazzled by it all. Wow.
well, thank you for that. But I think your question is, what can a kid do to influence these national and global issues? 4. 1, you can start writing about it in your school. You can just start writing. Never underestimate the power of a kid who can think and write. Everyone wants to read that. That's how you influence the world. 2, if you know someone who's an adult, ask them to vote and ask them to interact with society in a way that matters. Don't just go vote because you think you should. Vote for the future. Think about the future. Ask them, do you care about me? If you do, please don't vote on money. Please don't vote on politics. Vote on the future. If you ever get the opportunity to meet a politician, go up to them, just get all your courage. Don't be afraid to be dismissed and ask them, what are you currently doing right now to make my life better, or your grandkids or your children? Tell me 2 things that you're doing right now, and don't leave until they tell you. The 4th thing you can do is invent something right now to make the world a better place. And then use that as a leverage to say, if I'm doing this, why aren't you? If I'm thinking about this, why aren't you? You have all the money, you have all the jobs, you have all the politics, and you have all the people listening to you. Why am I the only one doing something about this? That's what you can do.
Good advice. We really
There's
need
nothing
kids
else you can.
thinking like that.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm gonna do when I either find the time, go or come up with a world-changing idea. There's some steps I need to do, and rewatch and re-record this video.
Absolutely.
Colleen,
we
Waylon,
all of us-
you just joined us. I don't know how much of the presentation you heard.
Yes, I heard the tail end. Thank you, Jim. That sounded awesome.
Jim,
Yes, certainly.
Jim, I am an engineer, and as an engineer, I realize that my job is to solve problems. So you had all these wonderful ideas and wonderful goals. Now tell us about the problems you had in putting them into action.
Oh my goodness. All of that's in there too, Jake, because you know I don't flinch from failure. Siddharth, I am unafraid of failure. Failure is the best teaching tool. It is not a bad thing. It's not a destination. It's a data point. So I have ideas. I'm like, I think this is going to work. And I create an invention and it doesn't work. So again, I use the design cycle and I say, well, what didn't work? And I change that. And Jake, can I give you one funny example? Okay, so Siddharth, are you vegetarian? Okay.
Yes.
Well, a lot of people here in the United States like to eat chicken. That's just a fact. I raise chickens and I eat them. What are chickens covered with?
Feathers.
Feathers. Those feathers need to be removed. So I invented something that removes feathers. It just does. You melt the wax that keeps the feathers in the bird. You put it in there and these fingers knock it around and they take the feathers off. That's irrelevant. I have this device I invented. What else could I use this for? I have a pond with fish in it. And I have a filter that pulls all of the bad things out of the water and the algae. Well, algae is really valuable because it makes plants grow, but it's really labor intensive to scrape all the algae off of these filters. Problem 1, chicken feathers. Problem 2, algae. I just put those filters in the chicken plucker. The algae falls out the bottom. I package it and use it to grow more food. I give it to people who have gardens. I give it to people who want to start gardens, community gardens, schools. I have so much algae because this system is so efficient at pulling algae out of the water. I have more than I need.
How big is your
That's
pond?
what I'm talking about. What was your question?
How big is your pond?
My pond is 3,890 liters, 2,000 gallons. It's 6 feet deep and it has 100 fish in it. So they produce copious amounts of waste, and the sun produces enormous amounts of algae. I don't need to waste that algae. I invented a system that pulls all that water out, filters it down through, recycles the water, shoots it with ultraviolet radiation and ultrasonic waves, and puts fresh water back in. I can drink that water if I wanted to. I don't, because the fish need it. Then I recycle everything. This is how I live the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Anybody can do this. You just need to start. The minute we ask ourselves, what do I do first, is the minute we tackle this problem. Step, 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 step. Never stop asking. Never stop inventing. Never stop thinking you're right, or wrong, I should say. Always know you're already wrong. You'll be right again in the future, or better, better, better. That's my advice. And that's what I wanted this talk to be about. And I hope that comes through. I hope I'm not just bragging, but I'm telling you, you need to start doing things that you can do and that you can do well, and then do it for everyone, not just yourself.
I really
Very
understand that. Wow.
I'm
Wow.
pretty passionate about this, guys. I love this topic. I think the world can be changed with a good heart, grace, compassion, and a little bit of hard work. So, I mean, it's in my hands right now, but eventually it will be in your hands, Siddharth. And we need people willing to do the work. All of you listening on YouTube need to be willing to do the work. It's not hard. It's just scary at first. Get over it. Everything's scary. First time you wrote a book, the first time you talked to another person you didn't know, the first time you ate something you'd never ate. Fear is always there. Courage is what we need more of, and action. Get
Jim,
used to those.
yeah, Jim, I know you work with students and they're helping you. You're not doing all this work yourself. Can you,
Oh, absolutely.
can you tell us more about the students and what they're doing and what they're gaining from their experience with you?
Absolutely. How much time do I have, Jake?
You have another 30 minutes.
Oh, so let's talk a little bit about what I'm going to talk about tonight. And that is using young minds to solve big problems. So I can't do all this by myself. Every year I take on 3 high school students who work with me on my farm here as interns. An intern is someone who does work for you, and in return, they do research on that. And what they get from what they're doing with me here on the farm is they get to experience things, and then they do research on that, and they write a paper that they then publish for their research in high school. So all of these kids are aged 16 to 18. And then I have adult companies that come in and help me as well. So I don't do all this by myself. I'm not a one-man shop. I pay for a lot of it myself, but I also have companies that help me because, as you can tell, apparently, I'm really good at inspiring people to do things. So last year, I talked myself and my insurance company, big issue, and the company I work for, Partnering Anthropology with Science and Technology, which is the PATS Foundation, to allow me to bring kids who came to my summer camps, because I also run summer camps to teach all of this, because I don't want to sit on this information like a big fat spider. I want to share it, right? It's a web. It's not a table. It's a web. And so I identified 4 students last year who were aged 9 to 11, and I talked to them, and I talked to their parents, and I talked to their teachers, and I asked a question. If I'm asking kids around the world to act and change the world, could I ask these students to do the same thing? And every single one of them said, nope, not me, ask someone else. I didn't have anyone else. I had identified 4, and I told them, this is why I identified you. This is what I need you to do. This is why I need you to do it. And this is when I need you to do it. And eventually I convinced all 4 of them, their parents, my boss, my insurance company, and my family to say, yes, they can do this. Then I had to convince teachers who I had hired to come teach kids. I don't need teachers to teach kids. I have kids that can teach kids. Siddharth, if I tell you something, that's one thing. If another kid tells you exactly what you need to do, why, and what will happen if you don't, honestly, listen to your heart. Who would you listen to first? The old guy, the kid?
Stumped me. Let's see, the old guy.
Okay. If the old guy said, dummy, listen to the kid, what would you do then?
Listen to the kid.
I trained my kids to not give you a choice. They showed up. They were my interns. They ran that camp. The teachers were there to make sure that kids weren't acting up and that they were in danger. Silas, Izzy, Cecilia, and Robert ran those camps. And you know what they did? They killed it. Because I believe in equality. I believe in gender equality. I believe in reduced inequality. And for me, they were smart enough to change the world. The only thing I had to do was give them an opportunity and get out of the way. I knew there was no one better at animal biotechnology than Izzy. I knew I did not have a better researcher or engineer than Silas. I knew I didn't have a better leader and motivator and engineer than Cecilia. And I knew that Robert knew every one of those electrical systems and could teach it with his eyes closed. The only thing I had to do was believe in children and then get my insurance company, their families, my boss, and my husband to say, okay, we're willing to do this. And you know what? They killed it because I believed in them and I knew I was right. And what would I have done if I had failed, Jake?
Done it again.
Tell me, what would I have done if that had been an abject failure? Siddharth, what would I have done?
Ask again with more precise details and do it again with more details and again with so many details that it's so overwhelming that they can't say no and they say yes.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I would do. Thank you. I wrote papers on it. I did research on it. I'm giving lectures on it. As a matter of fact, Isabel and Silas are joining me tonight to give a talk on just what we did and how it worked and why they believe that what I'm telling you right now, these 17 goals can all be achieved by any kid on this planet if they are willing to, 1, believe in themselves, and 2, find someone else to believe in them, to empower them to do it. So teaser, tonight, you get to see what happened from that experiment at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I think it's Greenwich Mean Time at 10 o'clock. I'm not sure, but it's basically 3 hours ahead of where I am. So come see that talk. Hear it from the horse's mouth. I don't believe in anybody but children willing to do the work. Sorry, Jake, I cut you off.
I will have a question for you, Jim. Do you know, are there any camps for teachers? Because I'm a teacher, for instance, in a complete other field than yours, but still a teacher at university level. And I couldn't agree more with you with the fact that if they believe in themselves, the chances are that they are more creative, and that's what we need. But at least in Spain, where the syllabus for elementary schools and high schools is designed in such a way that they are expected to almost repeat what the teacher says and are not encouraged to be creative. And whenever I try to do an activity with them where I expect them to be creative, they like are scared and they don't know what they are supposed to do. They always expect exact instructions. And on the other side, teachers will receive an education where we are taught the contents that we have to share with our students or to have them learning, but we are not taught to be to encourage them, you know, to be like coaches for them. And I think that role is even more important than the other one, because contents you can search in the internet or you can look for them elsewhere. But if a person believes in him or herself, the chances are that he or she can learn even in an autonomous way and reach whatever goals she or he has, you know. So do you know if there are any camps where teachers can learn those skills, like to be more coaches and motivate their kids and make them believe in themselves, and you know? And is that the same way in the United States as it is in Spain, or are high schools in the United States fostering or encouraging their students to be more creative?
Belen, that's a lot to answer, but I'll unpack it one piece at a time. One, the way I go about doing this in order to hit standards and in order to meet the needs of the pedagogy is the first thing I do is I talk to the kids about what our common goal is. We need to learn this. The second thing I do is I ask them, what would you be interested in doing to learn this? And then we just spend a little bit of time. And as a professional, you need courage and faith that you can find a way to connect this content with these kids and having fun and being a kid. I can tell you the organization I work for, the PAST Foundation, pastfoundation.org, that's all we do is train teachers on how to reframe this problem, right? So just yesterday, I finished a course on programming in object-oriented languages, Python, Unity, and Java, using Tai Chi. Basically, we need to teach the computer how to create a 3D game of Tai Chi by gamifying how we move the body in Tai Chi over 2 weeks. And they learned everything about object-oriented coding because it mattered to them. We need to know what these variables are. We need to know how to program this. What is this function? Is this a discrete function? Can we reuse this function? Everything they needed to know in high school to code in Python, Unity, or Java. And they wrote the variables themselves. And now they're starting a module on programming and they know exactly what they want to do. Teachers need to reframe what they do from teaching to inspiring kids to use this and this platform we're on to get the data and use it in new and innovative ways. That's a very scary product, especially if you don't want to do more work. But you have to do the same thing I asked Siddharth to do. Write about it, talk to people about it, demand people rethink what this is and have courage that you can do this. It's the only thing we can do. If we keep doing the things we've already been doing, nothing can change because change is all about doing things differently. And I don't have any better answer for you. I am not a trained teacher. I am a programmer who thinks about things in different ways.
I must say, I'm very satisfied with your answer. So I don't need another answer. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for
Leila,
the
I'll
opportunity.
just, I support that. I do add though that the challenges you have in Spain are similar to infrastructure teaching in the United States. And it depends on the school. We're such a big country with so many variations of educational institutions, and they keep diversifying. So really depends on the support of the administration, the vision of the administration. There's so many different variables, but keep plugging away at it. It's worth it. But it depends on where you are, whether you're able to kind of have this inquiry-driven style of classroom or not.
Jim,
That
Jim,
is true.
people want to know your website. Can you share it? Because I can share it if you
Let me share
can.
my screen again.
He pasted
I
he
put it in the
pasted it in the chat.
but
put
I'll
it
show
in-
it on here. Let's go, I think here. Siddharth, you're my wingman, all right? Can you see that?
Not yet. No, that's your PowerPoint.
Okay, there it is.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Or
It's
is it the wrong one?
no. It says mezzacello.org. Am I right?
That's it.
Yeah.
And if you go there and you type in UN or UN 17 or UN SDG, every single one of these blog posts and all the data is all there. It's public. I don't need to own it. I want to share it. We need to share it. We all need to be part of this solution. So that's it. I'll be back. I'm glad I inspired you. I really thought this was going to be a boring talk, but I'm very passionate about this. And I want to get, if I were ever to get a tattoo, so what a tattoo is, Siddharth, you get writing on your body, I would get a tattoo. Oh, thank you, Jake. I would get a tattoo that says old ideas or old keys don't open new doors. Because that's how I live my life. Try to innovate. Always try to innovate.
I agree. I truly agree.
Cool.
If
Thanks
we-
for sharing
if-
my website, Jake.
Like if we lecturers were half the passionate as you are and such inspiring as you are, that would be great, awesome in school, you know?
I believe it. Yeah. I think now is the time, Belen. Am I saying your name correctly? Is it Belen? Okay. We had an opportunity to rethink education. COVID, right? Everything, the whole world shut down. But then people went back to fear. I'm like, we've always done it this way. It's not time. It's past time. This is what we all of us need to be kids. All of us need to be powerless kids right now in this moment in time and start demanding change. That's the only way the world is going to change. In fact, it's never changed any other way, but people demanding that it change. It won't change by itself. People don't like change, but change is the only reality. I mean, we come back in a year, we won't recognize Siddharth. He changed. It's called growth.
Yes, it is.
No.
I have
All
a
right,
question
any other
for you,
questions?
Jim. Yeah, I have a question. Is there anything that you need that others can offer you? Or anything that your students need at the PASS Foundation?
All of it, yes. The one thing I need is help. I need financial help. I've had great partners, but it's really hard to work a full-time job, build a farm, try to change the world, and do all the volunteering and board work I do, donations, getting partners, companies that want to be part of this kind of change. I will work with you. The second thing, I need more of these Mezzacello food oases in a city to exist. I want more of them. I want one in every major city in the world. I want them to open their hearts and bring kids in and say, this is what food looks like. This is what water is. It's why it's an important resource. It's how you save it. This is how you leverage technology to help everyone, not just yourself. And lastly, I need opportunities to get my voice out into the world and encourage and empower other kids and companies to start doing this work. Money, donations, partners, more of these farms, and opportunity. And I need minds like Siddharth, Colleen, I need yours. Belen, I need yours. Jake, I need yours. To start asking questions, what could I do right now to be the change I want to see in the world? Don't make me wait for a Greta Thunberg to come into the world and be a lightning rod. Everyone can be a lightning rod. You just need to understand the basics of electricity so you don't die, period. It's that simple. It's all that related. I want everyone to benefit. In order to do that, I need to amplify. In this world, I need money, access, and partners to do that. Otherwise, send me your love. I can use that too. When the days when it's so hard, I can't keep going. Knowing other people care is sometimes the most valuable currency there is. I believe that truly. So that's my answer. I'm plugging for help to build my company, Mezzacello, but also I want to change the world. And it's high frequency to change the world. And I need to protect my heart and my home and my vision. And in order to do that, I need to insulate it with resources. It's that simple. Otherwise, it will eat me alive.
Jim, I have a request. So, a part of GIFT, there's a young collaborators podcast, and I was thinking, and Julie, that we should interview you for our first, podcast. And I was just wondering if you have any time and are available for that.
I would be a hypocrite if I said no. I'm asking you to do things to change the world. Absolutely, I will do that for you. Of course.
Okay.
So tell Julie behind the curtain, yeah, I will do that. I hope it would be you that would interview me because I think you're fascinating. I've been following your career on GIFT for quite a while, and I'm so proud of you. You are the change I want to see in the world, friend. It really is you. You think I inspire you. You inspire me.
Thank you. Just so you know. Just so you know, you missed my presentation. It was 2 presentations ago.
Oh, bummer. Just so you know, it's on YouTube and I can go back and watch it.
Oh,
Boom.
God, strike back.
Yeah, that's a fact. So, any other questions for me? Anything on YouTube? Because I can't go there. I'm unlimited to this screen.
I have a question. What's next? Do you have Mezzacello? Is there another scalable project that is separate from that you have in the works? I'm an inventor as well and an idea person, and there's always a laundry list of things. So you didn't present on what's next, but I know there's something brewing under there, Jim. So let us know.
Absolutely. It's what's going next is I want to create modules for teaching the way I teach here that can be gotten for such a low price. Anybody could do it at a grocery store. I want to start developing these modules and sending them out. The other thing is I would like to start a cooking channel. My husband is a phenomenal cook, and he really loves sharing. If you go to Mezzacello, you'll see half of those posts are recipes he's created. That's another way I'd like to go because everything he cooks is organic and natural, and it's amazing and cheap. I'd like to start influencing people to eat better because there's a relationship between poverty and zero hunger and changing the world's governments. They all flow through each other. It all starts with food. If you eat bad food, you can't do amazing things. So that would be another thing. And then the last thing is a line of inventions to make the bioreactor design replicable. So you could build a bioreactor for under $1,000 and just start using it anywhere. And that's going to be probably a spinoff of Mezzacello is energy, accessible energy. Because that bioreactor powers almost everything. It has solar power, wind turbines, it captures water. As water drops, it captures that energy, it waters the gardens, and it is what the homeless people plug into at night. So it can solve so many problems around the world, especially in places of high sun and heat and water scarcity, because it collects its own water through evaporation, and where you have a lot of wind. It produces copious amounts of wind, and it should be out there in the world. And I would just like to find a way to create a product around it to share. So those are the things. There are probably more, but those are the only ones I'm prepared to talk about.
Just a couple. Jim, I had another question, maybe idea. One thing that has helped me is our local public media station associated with PBS. And in our area, I'm in Arizona, they do these Arizona Illustrated 5-10 minute segments. I'm wondering if, have you reached out to your public media to do, I think you would be just a fascinating story on public media. Have you reached out to them?
I'm kind of a hypocrite in that I don't mind talking to the world about what I'm doing. I don't like talking to the world about what I'm doing in the real world. I'm really bad at it. I really need to find someone to help me do that, because even though I know it's not true, and even though I trained 4 little ninjas all summer, don't be afraid to ask for people to respect you. Don't be afraid to be proud of what you're doing. I'm human. I'm afraid. I'm afraid they're going to say, what you're doing is meaningless. And I need to get over myself. I am not doing that yet. I have been honored. I won a sustainability award in the city. I was part of the Future 50 last year, the 50 most influential people in my city. I don't know how to leverage that very well, because I'm so busy actively doing things to make the world a better place. I don't know how to make my life easier by doing that. And it feels,
I have an idea.
Okay.
So this is the plan. Julie just said we need a kid's book about your work, and I write comic books for science. So
That's a
Jim, I
great-
think we need to collaborate on a comic book about your world.
I would love that, actually. That's a great idea.
Okay, well, yes. So Julie gives us a thumbs up. So you know
Now I
how
wanna
to,
talk.
yeah, you know how to contact me. So yeah, we should definitely create, that would be, and that would fit your vision, right? That's your world. Like, you know, the
Yeah.
comic books I write are for kids ages 8+. So but they're very serious. They're very funny because they're comic books, but they're also robust and meaty and full
So
of good science.
I love this for 2 reasons. One, it's meeting kids where they are, which is exactly where I want to live. And 2, when I was training the kids for the summer camps this summer, the piece of advice I got from one of the kids who was 11 at the time, 11, she said, you need to remember, yes, we're people, but we're not adults. We're kid people. And you can't talk to us like adults. We can't remember the levels of quantum electrodynamics on demand. That's not who we are. This is why I need you, Colleen, because I'm a drill sergeant. I want change now, and I'm not willing to wait for it. And that's not what kids need. They need more grace and love. And that's a powerful lesson I learned this summer. So yes, I would love that.
Okay, well, we've got a project. Sid, you want to be in the comic book too?
Yep, I do.
Okay.
Especially stuff that's related to science. Jim, I have a question. On Mezzacello, does it show your Mars experiments, and what are the updates that you've done since the last time?
So I think I'm out of time, and there's someone who's coming, but yeah, just when you go to Mezzacello, just type the word Martian. All that data is there. 2 updates. The bioreactor tower that the homeless people plug into, that is the Martian project. That's what I designed to go to Mars. The compost that I was designing for the soil to grow in on Mars did not work. I did not realize that there would be organisms attracted from the ground that would eat the tender roots that grow prolifically in that soil. And the diatomaceous earth that I was using as a soil stand-in was killing the roots, and so the plants weren't growing as robustly. So what I learned from 2 years of Project Martian was that you do need to include some minerals and dirt. The plants that have evolved on this planet over 2.3 billion years, they need that structure. If you don't give them that particular structure, they don't know how to grow. So I've adapted. And one of my partners, which is Scott's, donated like 20 bags of soil to me, and I was able to save that crop from certain disaster because they were failing. And I knew why, but I didn't know what to do. Where do I get that much dirt this fast? And so they just gave me 20 bags of dirt. And then I took the bags, power washed and cleaned them, shredded them, and turned them into 3D printing filament. Because you don't need to throw plastic bags away. They're polyethylene terephthalate. I can turn 3D printing filament into that. But that's where we are on Project Martian. I've got a bioreactor that works stunningly well, gives me thousands of liters of water on demand, produces power, waters my plants and gardens automatically, and I don't have to do anything but occasionally check it, change out the reactant, and I make my own beer now, Siddharth. I use apple cider and baking yeast. Let it sit in a jar for 2 weeks. Cannot drink it. It will kill you. But microorganisms, they want the ethanol. I'm not making beer for humans. I'm making beer for humans that will eat the food 8 steps beyond. So now I make my own ammonia, I make my own soda, and I make my own beer, and I don't have to buy anything other than apple juice and yeast. So that's where I am on that. That's the update.
Thanks. I really appreciate all that information. It's almost
Indeed.
too much for my brain to hold, but no, my brain's
know,
going
no.
by a second.
This is why I don't talk to people about what I do, because I don't know when to stop. Right?
No, it's great,
But I
Jim.
do stop. 'Cause
Well, we're
Brooke is
gonna
here.
look. Yeah, Brooke is here and she's next. And Jim, we look forward to your talk later today.
Indeed, I look forward to it too. I'm very proud of it.
Okay.